I don't know about you, but growing up, I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' farm, and I just will always remember vividly spending time out in the gardens with my grandparents. And there's something about that generation that they just knew how to grow food. And I don't know if you have a similar experience to me, but somehow my grandmama and granddaddy, they always had a fruitful and thriving garden. Let's talk about what were those keys to success they did in order to have a thriving and abundant garden. I think first off, Grandma knew that she needed a sunny location to grow that garden. So if you're starting out and you're looking for a spot, you want to find a spot that's relatively sunny, that gets at least 6 to 8 hours of sunlight throughout the day, and also is a spot that has relatively little or no rocks. Now, a few rocks are okay, but you're going to want an area that is just not all rocks. Somewhere that you can access easily, that you can get water to. Maybe that's just a simple water hose. And then secondly, I think that if you've got an area that has decent soils, just dig a hole in the ground and kind of get your hands in it, smell it. Is it clay? Is it sandy? Is it rocky? Obviously, if it's super rocky, we're wanting to eliminate that area. But Grandma knew they needed a good plot and a good area that was sunny and had relatively decent soil. However, for the most part, most soils need organic matter added to them. They need some fertility. So a lot of old timers would use aged manure, whether that was from horses or cows or chickens. Whether that was aged manure or composted, they somehow knew that there was fertility in this manure, even though at this time they didn't have the scientific studies like we have today, knowing that, that manure is gold, and you can take that manure and then grow food to feed your family. Old timers knew this, Grandma and Grandpa knew this, but they didn't have the research. But they somehow knew because it was passed along to them from their grandparents and from their parents. So basically, you're going to want to take that organic matter, that aged manure, you're going to want to work that into that existing soil. That's going to add organic matter and give you fertility. Now, after you've worked that organic matter in, you want to form out your rows or your beds. And one thing I always saw my grandma do is she would take pine straw or pine needles, and she would lay that on top of the beds, and that would help, retain moisture. That would help suppress weeds. And you could use leaves, you could use wood chips. Just anything you have around on your property to kind of lay on the surface of the soil. We want to keep that soil armored or covered as best as possible. And from there, you can go buy some plants from a local nursery. You can start them yourself, in a windowsill, or you can just direct seed them after your last frost. If you don't know what your last frost is, just Google it. I think at the end of the day, the real key to success that you can learn from, your grandparents that grew garden is they use manure. But I think that's one of the beautiful things that I'll never forget is just going out into my grandparents' garden and just seeing abundance. And I think that's the beauty and enjoyment of growing your own food. And that's the way God designed us, to sow seed. And in our lives, we reap what we sow. So the seeds we sow today, we bear the fruit of tomorrow. That applies in our gardens, but it also applies in our personal life. If you enjoyed this episode, hit that like and subscribe button. We'll see you on the next one.